Odofo mesanso emamu nyina akwaba edeba Ghanatube odofo mobekai eye John Dramani Mahama ne kane finance minister aye friend kwabnadufo odofo enche bia na attorney general Babo nti beka chen say wa drop eye ni case na chese yesi amafo bebre na akase we di oman sika na ade na chese na asem ekwe deja wo court a ye twe ne sene abasa eye attorney general baaye no eye Dominic Ayine okase wa drop case no odofo nienti a Dominic Ayine drop eye kwabnadufo eye ni court case ni nyina no a ye dia bo ni nyina no odofo mensa kan chemu ni nyina odofo manko na yenko gisanse mu nyina nchim Ghanatube no magisia.
The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, defends the dropping of the case against Dr. Kwabnadufo and others. We'll take a closer look at this deal that the Attorney General gave details of earlier today at that press conference. That's the Government Accountability Series, and also the questions that have been raised about that particular detail that he gave. But that's what we're going to get into right now. Earlier today, here on TV3, we brought you that live coverage of the Government Accountability Series where Dr. Dominic Ayine, the Attorney General, gave details and essentially trying to defend that decision he took to file a nolle prosequi in the case of Dr. Kwabnadufo and the 7 others. This is what the Attorney General said about this, the matter of the settlement, and then also the deal that essentially he reached with Dr. Dufo in this particular case. Take a look.
Monies didn't go out to anybody. These were just book entries that were designed to make the books of Unibank look good. That is how come that in the criminal case, the charge of falsification of accounts was brought against them. So they did not loot the money. They did not give the money to anybody. They just made entries that were meant to give Bank of Ghana, the central bank, the impression that the bank was doing well. Okay. Then the exclusion of 0.3 billion relating to Unibank's placement with a SEC-regulated, SEC-regulated related company currently in receivership, which is being pursued separately through the insolvency proceedings. After prolonged negotiations, the accused persons, by a letter dated 7th May 2025, made a proposal to settle the revised outstanding obligation of 3.3 billion Ghana cedis through a structured approach. The accused persons offered to pay 2 billion Ghana cedis in full and final settlement of the outstanding obligations through the following arrangements. 800 million worth of assets to be transferred directly to Unibank, which is in receivership, which will now make that available to the Bank of Ghana. And then their active cooperation and participation to assist the receiver to recover an additional 1.2 billion from the direct beneficiaries paid out on their instructions. Out of the above arrangements, the accused persons have provided landed properties valued at 824 million Ghana cedis to Unibank. That is in receivership. Further, in other words, indirectly to the Bank of Ghana or the Republic of Ghana. Further, the accused persons will be responsible for any shortfall in the proceeds realized from the sale of the landed properties. A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. Although the preference would have a total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months.
So that's Dr. Dominic Ayine there, giving that 18-month period, the payment period for that's Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. And then this particular issue, in fact, last week when that decision was made public by the Deputy Attorney General, that the Attorney General, on behalf of the state, had filed a nolle prosequi in the case of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and the 7 others. There are questions about that decision. And today, he has decided to give detail. Now, one man who's been following this case quite closely is private legal practitioner Martin Pebu. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, good evening.
Out of 4 UT explanations na Attorney General Dominic Ayine de buy ni nyina na opese o kire say kwedu de bo former John Dramani Mahama na say NDC for finance minister Kwabena Duffuor no any 7 others kwedu de bo mu no as nkakra no omatua omoka ne be over 60%. Enti no say okay Attorney General buy no case okay so metumi aye de say edu sa level we dia ndie obemo mo bibia efe no nolle prosequi enti no ono no so metumi abom ho modin etua sika no more than half dia enti no ono Dominic Ayine or the powers as an Attorney General no the grant here nolle prosequi na chese or discontinue omo case ni cancel ye enti say ameno kasa no Kwabena Duffuor any 7 others no omo case no Attorney General sitting to ntanya ade obetua so biom ntorofo enye se omo nya ahwio ohwa ohwe nsem na Dominic Ayine working kind Attorney General working kind out me say o make payments the ama Unibank Unibank so be transfer their corner Bank of Ghana until we make various payments sika na yede mom so muntua ni nyina no nkaka no obetumi abom ho modin etua dodo na nti ese o mabom ho modin enti no saade Attorney General Dominic Ayine no si on tua sa case ni so biom titinto ntan Kwabena Duffuor any 7 others no ni case no we twa so se amene okasa no adofo ni enti a otwa so ni nyina no the explanations ni nyina ba me so bi ni nyina bro e wo Ghana chedofo
Evening. Thank you for joining us. Great. Good to have you as always. You had earlier made the point that it would have been at that point as of last week too early to conclude that the Attorney General had done anything wrong, but you wanted some more detail for him to explain why he settled for a 60% recovery instead of the 100% or something more than the 60 that others were asking for. The detail that he gave today at that government accountability series, did it tick the box for you in explaining the reason why he settled for the 60%?
Mostly. It has mostly ticked the box because naturally you would find that what he gave cannot be 100%, okay, of the disclosures he has to make. But at least it's a good start. And that's exactly what I sought to say on the 22nd of July last week. That was last week when the information came out that he had decided to do a threshold of 60%. I mean, it was so obvious that, right, having sacked the previous administration for gargantuan corruption, Ayine couldn't have done so much corruption openly, right? Yes, I know he's human, but it just looked too early and too open for this to be an avenue of corruption. So I knew that no, it would be better to err on the side of caution than to start going for the jugular that this another corruption deal, this another corruption deal, like some people said. It was simple. Since he himself admits that the information he brought out last week, Tuesday, was Tēars, it meant that then he had to come back with further and better particulars. And that's what a lot of us kept saying. And I also was very clear that I was embracing what he had brought out so far because I knew that, listen, the details would only come to confirm what he had done. You see, sometimes you have to use a bit of, let's say, common sense, right? And some judgment to know that certain things can be as bad as we want them to look like. It was clear that he couldn't have just done that. Now let's go quickly into the details. The reason I said mostly, but not 100%. So you see that he was giving us the ballpark figures. That's the totals, big sums. He says assets of what? 824 million. That's what the Dufours are giving, right? Then there is 1.2 billion that should be recovered from those who benefited from that 1.2 billion. And out of that 1.2 billion, 500 million has already been paid. So we are left with 700. And that out of that, so for that 700 million, the Dufours are going to cooperate with the receiver, etc., to bring in that 700 million. So you see why I said that mostly, because for these ballpark figures, these totals, in future, he's going to have to break them down for us to further scrutinize. So this is an ongoing exercise, because he says there's a timeline of 18 months for the balance. He has also mentioned that for the first 824 million that is being transferred to Unibank, in the event that so those, that's not cash, they are assets. So he's saying that in the event that we sell the assets and we don't get 824 million, the Dufours, that's Kwabena Dufour and his other companies and son, they would be responsible for paying the shortfall. So that's to say, if we sold and realized only 700 million, then it means that they will cough up 124 million extra, right, to make up. So this necessarily would involve the Attorney General giving us more updates as we go along. And as I've said several times, transparency is the touchstone of our Constitution. You go to Article 37, the Directive Principles of State Policy is there. And if you go to the Supreme Court decisions, there are many. One of them is Pebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2, etc. The Supreme Court has repeated ad nauseam that transparency, probity, accountability, freedom, justice, those are the values that undergird, okay, that anchor our Constitution. So what the Attorney General is doing is really bringing to life, bringing to practice the values of our Constitution, that there should be as much transparency as possible.
That point about the transparency that you make is what I'm going to stay on, because he has set a certain ball in motion. He's doing something that is unprecedented. Okay, he's decided that even though the law doesn't require of him to explain or give reasons for filing nolle prosequi or discontinuing a case, he has decided that in the spirit of transparency and good governance, he would depart from the norm and come and give us explanation, reasons why he has filed a nolle prosequi. How is that working for him? Is it working for his good, or is open up himself for more scrutiny and more questions, as we are seeing after what he has done today?
This practice is already, let me use the word, entrenched. It's increasing Ayine's integrity by several notches higher. It's made him, well, let me not use too many flowery words now, but it's certainly putting him head and shoulders above the previous attorney generals. Yes, because you see, transparency, look, you can never go wrong. You can never go wrong, because the more transparent you are, then the more citizens will trust you. And you know, this is in the context of a situation where the executive, electoral commission, judiciary, etc., are scoring lower and lower marks on the Afrobarometer and other international benchmarks and indicia. So with what the Attorney General is doing, he, at least personally, is going to gain a lot from it, because now he set the bar very high. I can't imagine the next Attorney General attempting to roll back this progress. It's not possible. We would not allow the next Attorney General to do that. It's too late. So you see that he set the bar very high, and we are happy for it. Because you see, as I mentioned earlier, now with what he's done, you remember from those days, trailer in Manila, right? And
Yes.
then now he says he's going for the Rumble in the jungle.
Yes.
So that is it. He's giving us the trailer in Manila with the Dubois case. And you see how Ghanaians loved it, how we jumped onto it, because that's participatory democracy. Continue to engage the people, because you know, with this, citizens, you wait. By tomorrow and the next day, you see various angles that will start coming out. The scrutiny will start.
Yes, in fact, the scrutiny has started already, with the minority, for instance, asking that, I mean, he should have also disclosed his earlier association with Unibank, having been a lawyer for them when this whole case started. They've pointed out a possible case of conflict of interest in that regard. So that scrutiny you're talking about has started already.
Oh, yes, but that one was always publicly available and known to all of us. So I don't know to what extent the minority is saying he should disclose. I thought they would have said that for the 824 million, we should get a list of the assets. For the 500 million that has been paid.
It's one of the demands. It's one of the demands as well.
Yes. So we shouldn't start with the conflict of interest at the top, because we don't get that far. It was always known that he was lawyer in that case, etc. Right? So this is the participatory democracy that we are involved in. So this is bringing Ayine personal glory, and of course, John Mahamat's administration better governance, because as I've said, I don't see how the next Attorney General will attempt to roll back this progress. We would not. There's no space for that. Anybody intended to occupy that office better come and make it better. It won't go back.
You would expect that any
other for the senior a current Attorney General Dominic Ayine Osi Ayine Jumane die just say the reputation and the track record so far no all gather die just say the next Attorney General no so when to me am matches our standard ne dia Ghana for adom de beye no because Dominic Ayine current Attorney General or boni juma ye papa or boy juma den pa say ba na chese see our left no say any Attorney General be obebet na so no say when to me and left sa ba no na say one maintain sa ba ne dia and the asempa na atun because Attorney General no or boy juma ye pa chese we to me at discontinue a case na wase aba abontin aba be kirem nientia what discontinue that particular case ni die just say wa born ho modin ye pa obi wo hono mu a the power no wo no as Attorney General no or discontinue case be a on they will ka any explanation. He doesn't owe anybody any explanation. The power or the for but way they will say what me aba bontin aba be justifying nienti or discontinue see me see no bentin case kwabna do 4 and 7 others on case no ni nyina all the facts and figures ni nyina beto abontene chese obo adwumaden ye parofo yes sa reputation and as a track record no da beto on the next Attorney General no say when to me and left sa ba na nkosoro anase wa maintain ba ne dia chese asema to no Ghana so for manko na entu ansem so na yisia
Attorney General after Dr. Dominic Ayine will continue to give reasons for filing nolle prosequa, even though the law doesn't demand them or require them to do so.
Absolutely. And he's doing so because Ayine is shrewd, very shrewd. He can read that society is tired with this opaque nolle prosequa thing. Remember the last time that society took this thing up was in the Gregory Afoko case. You could see that the prosecution had lost the case, and then last minute the judge was about to then give the instructions to the jury, right? But because the prosecution saw that they had lost the case, then they entered nolle prosequa. You see that we're angry as citizens. Gregory Afoko, led by Osafo Boabe, went to the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court said, well, if you have evidence, then that's when the Supreme Court can question the nolle prosequa. But if you have no evidence, the Attorney General is not bound to, give reasons, right? But you see that they refer to other jurisprudence, South Africa, etc. We were independent long before. South Africa, they lived under apartheid. how come today they are ahead of us, right? So Ayine, yes, he took the initiative. We'll give him all the credit. But you can see that Ayine is a reflection of our society, that we're tired of this opaque knowledge prosecutor. That is to say, the Attorney General can terminate a criminal case and not give any reason. We're tired of it. So Ayine is just reflecting society. But of course, we are very grateful that he's been that bold. And as I said, there's no turning back.
Right.
There's no turning back.
Council, I know you got to leave it a bit, but the likes of Adam Senano, co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, he's going to be joining us in a bit. He has indicated that why 60%? And the Attorney General responds with that answer that it would be unrealistic for anybody to argue that 100% could have been recovered. He says, you know, from the anti-corruption perspective, that's not an answer that would wash for him, to the extent that why not 70, why not 80, why not 90% and 60%? And that in his view, if it continues this way, the Attorney General will be setting a precedence for others to go on the same path of, you know, looting or taking state funds and acts of corruption. And when they are caught in that web, this agreement of 60%, because yes, it is unrealistic to expect 100% recovery. What do you say to that?
Well, look, let's say, in principle, I agree with Adam Senano that we can get more. In principle, I agree. But let me tell you the way I see it. It's slightly different, or maybe there's a major departure. But the principle of his argument, I agree. You know what? Look, you don't need to look into the crystal ball to see that this is not the end of the do-fors, all right? They are NDC. And, you know, at least NDC has 4 years. I can see that based on work they've done in the past, etc., just to make the point quickly, they will get business. So they are going to be on their feet very soon. So we'll beg Dr. Ayine that, thank God that even if they finish, look, citizens are asking that because we want 100% recovery, they should come with a clause that, look, if the do-fors ever get their banking license back, then for every year that they declare a profit, and of course, to avoid a situation where they don't want to declare a profit, we can tweak the thing. But to make sure that if they are running well and they get any money above their fixed cost, okay, fixed cost, we are looking at their buildings, staff remuneration, etc., right? So if they make money beyond that, we should get a certain percentage, right? Maybe even if it's small, but then it will be relaxed over the years, because I can bet you, Mr. Okansi, this is not the end of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and his sons and other children, right? So let's put in a clause. Ayine should, listen, we can put in a clause that for every year, that's as and when they get their banking license out, or if it's not banking, like any other business that they are going to start doing.
Right.
And as I said, we will not say just pure profit, but we should say, you know, in business, there's what we call the fixed cost, the variable cost. If we tie it against pure profit, it can take long before we get further money. So we'll look beyond the fixed cost, then we get a certain percentage gradually. We shouldn't kill the business. But as long as they are in business, we'll keep getting something small. So even if it takes 10 years to get the remaining 60%, I think Ghanaians will be happy. And I'm sure the do-fors will be happy to do that, so that 100 years from now, their forebears will be happy to say that, look, my great-grandfather paid back everything. Yeah, so that's the new chapter. But it cannot be 100% today. No, if you said 100% today, for now, it doesn't appear we have enough facts to say we should get 100% today.
But as you've indicated, you said this is not the end of it. Even if it's 60% recovery, you expect some things will come up and then further recoveries will be made. I appreciate your time on this. Counsel, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Matik Bibo is private legal practitioner. He's been following this case quite closely. Dennis Paberi-Wadam Esquire is with me in the studio. We're going to get into the details in terms of putting figures to the entire.
Adolfo wey na ye nsema ekoso e wo Ghana asi Attorney General what discontinue Ghanatube and 7 others on case just what grant you or null prosecute case with onankasa attorney general and powers what answer about wanting the explanation case concerning the entity take that particular decision no other 4 way and sema cost wo Ghana has a so be nyina bro Ghanatube of mom if you like no subscribe no share no hit notification bell so my send a bear bring a drop content say when you tempa no ahwe no eche modo for aha ana mede nsem nyina besi Ghanatube so makra mu nyina meda mu nyina se